Hi, Robin. Good evening.
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for time and congratulations on passing your PMP exam. How are you feeling?
Thanks. I'm feeling wonderful. It's been quite a journey, um, but quite enjoyable, I must say. Learned a lot and feeling on top of the world.
All right. Wonderful. I must acknowledge this, like you're one of the most dedicated students I have ever seen. Like you attended all our daily life classes, and sometime when I felt demotivated, I looked at you and I was like, no, I won't be skipping any class. I will be doing class because students like that level of motivation actually gives me energy. So thank you so much for that.
Only a pleasure.
Okay, Robin, my first question, and probably the most important question. You told me you are around 65 years old, and at this age, what keeps you motivated for continuous learning and why PMP now?
I think, Emma, that's an interesting question because throughout my life, I've had, I was in a bad accident when I was 20 years old. And I couldn't run after that. I injured my leg badly. But I started walking. And I still walk daily. And I walk as much as I can. At first, it was a struggle, but then I carried on and I carried on. And even today, I walk virtually daily. There did come a time a few years ago where I could feel a slight strain on my bad leg. And I thought I've got to do something to compensate for this. So I started swimming, and I was a very bad swimmer. But now I'm actually quite a good swimmer. So, that's just part of my history. If there's something that gets me down, I'll try and pick up and do better. And it's like that with the work situation. I don't see myself retiring soon. I see myself continuing. And I've done particularly well with the job that I'm doing. I actually got a an international company award fairly recently. And that tells me you've just got to carry on, and you've just got to. The one way of carrying on is to improve, and that's what my whole attitude is towards everything. Is improve as much as you can.
All right.
And I actually, since I mentioned 65, I've actually had a birthday in July, and I'm now 66.
All right. Wonderful and quite interesting. I think nothing is better than getting motivated after, listening this. And that's what, that's why I say like continuous improvement is, something that one should not stop. So you are an example of that. Thank you so much. Okay, Robin, let's talk about your PMP exam preparation journey. How much time you spent in the preparation process?
uh, I can give you some sort of estimate without the initial prep course. The 4 days. It was more than 150 hours.
Mhm.
But I would say, at a good guess, about 175 hours. That would be including, reading most of Rita's book.
All right,
Yeah.
175 hours. Wonderful. Okay, what was
Yeah.
your exam preparation strategy? Let's start with the resources that you used for your studies.
Okay. I think, to put that in perspective, maybe the best the best way that I found myself going about it was you provided 10 tips to crack the PMP exam. And those 10 tips had quite a broad idea of what you have to do to actually do it. So I kept referring back to those and, figuring out where am I going wrong? Where am I going right? Where are my gaps? What do I need to do? And whatever. And that helped me a lot. So, to put it in perspective, I followed those 10 tips fairly closely. Okay, and then with the aids, I read most of Rita's book. I didn't actually read the entire book, word by word, and I did it over a period of time, because what I did, together with the book, they provide those mock questions. There's 10 questions for different knowledge areas. So I would read a chapter, go back to the knowledge areas, and then if I wasn't doing so good on answering the questions, I'd go back, or I'd do something else to try and fill the gaps in what where I was performing poorly. So and also referring to the PM book at the same time, to really try and figure out, if I'm doing something wrong, what am I doing wrong? I've got to figure that out. So, that was part of this strategy. One thing I did find very helpful in Rita's book was the process chart games. And I kept going back to those because they were, when I got into the questions on Prepcast, I realized that that there were a few areas where I needed to up my game as far as being better equipped to answer the questions about the sequencing of process areas. So when I got a few questions wrong as far as process areas go, I'd go back to those process chart games and go through the entire game. It was actually fun. It was fun to do that all the time, to get a better picture. So, that was the basic strategy. But at the same time, I kept going back to your notes. The things that come to mind were the terms to avoid and the terms to welcome. I quite often went back to that because I really wanted to, absorb the information in there, because I knew that was essential to actually get to achieving good marks in the exam. And, basically all the other tips and information that you gave, some of them that come to mind is, those 25 concepts to keep in mind. I read through that quite a few times. And the checklists of must-know items, I think there were 25 to 30 of those. Not a lot. So, when I had a bit of time to spare, I'd go back to the mindsets, to that sort of thing, to try and train my thinking towards where I had to go. Even those 100 tips, that actually took quite a while to get through, because it is 100, and some of them you have to think. So I took my time, I went through them, and it was a couple of times that I went through that. So, that was basically my strategy.
All right.
Like it was enjoyable, and I learned a lot.
Wonderful. How many questions did you solve for the during the entire preparation process?
I must have gone, I didn't complete all of those questions. You know, we did the questions on the nightly sessions. Without counting those, I went through most of the Prepcast questions. And what I did there, I used I would do a test and then record the result. So I'd go back to the knowledge areas, you know, how many I've got right in the knowledge areas. And I made a schedule of that. And I'd single out my bad areas where I had gaps in the knowledge areas. And I'd go with Prepcast, you can go back to those specific questions that you didn't get right, and you can do them again. And then you can actually read the explanation of what the correct answer is, and then the explanation of what the incorrect answer is. And sometimes even the incorrect answers provided information for future answering correctly when they were put in a different question. So it was all a really good journey, even with, especially with, you know, answering the questions and referring back to the knowledge gaps.
Absolutely. And that is really, really important. Most of the students, what they do is they solve the questions and then they move to the next mock. So before you move to the next mock, spend some time reviewing what went wrong. What are the questions where you were not able to find the right answer? Because that's where you would be learning and that would be helpful to you in the real exam. So reviewing your mock exam, especially the wrong questions, is really, really important. Okay.
Right.
Okay, Robin, you attended almost all of our daily live PMP class. How helpful that was for the exam?
That was tremendous. You know, the way that I eventually looked at it was it raised the bar a bit, because the questions were not easy. So you had to put a lot of thought into them. And also you had to have an understanding that there were different concepts that you need to go into a little bit deeper to understand them. So really, really good, really helpful. And yes, I must thank you once again for that.
Welcome. I'm happy. I'm glad that was helpful. All right. Let's talk about exam. Was there anything that we couldn't study during the entire process or anything that you find challenging during the exam?
Well, the exam was pretty tricky, but I would say it wasn't overly difficult. You know, at the end of the day, I did fairly well in the exam. So I was able to spend the right amount of time, have a look for, you know, what I needed to look for the words in the questions, look for any tricky parts of it. And I was able to do that in a timely manner, to the extent that I actually timed myself throughout the exam. I thought, you know, when I get to 20 questions, I'm going to check how well I'm doing as far as timing goes. And I did that throughout the exam. I went to the calculator, did a quick calculation, and I was between 1.2 and or 1.3 and 1.5 minutes per question. I was sort of going up and down around that throughout the exam. And I actually finished the last question in the last minute of the exam by doing that.
That's great. Time management. Okay. What are the
Yeah.
important topics where students should focus on?
Sorry, could you say that again, Amar?
Yeah, so what are the important topics where students should focus on?
Okay, I found that in the exam, the questions were fairly well distributed over the different knowledge areas. So I would say that in preparing for the exam, break down your studies into the knowledge areas, and the mock exams. Break it down into the knowledge areas and look for your gaps in the knowledge areas and focus on that. And that's what I did, and that's what really helped me.
All right. Okay. So during the exam, were you confident that you're going to pass the exam? What were your feelings?
You know, I was fairly confident throughout. And that was from the outset, because I decided I was going to get this right. So I arrived a little bit early. I got properly acclimatized to the environment there. I was quite relaxed. And when I got to my computer, I made sure that the font on the screen was correct. The height of the chair was exactly like I wanted it. Everything put me in a position where I was very comfortable to take on this exam. So I was really ready for it. And even, getting to the breaks, the 10-minute breaks are very important, because as the exam went on, it does take its toll on you. You start getting a little bit tired. It's taking a bit of a mental strain. So you need to be prepared for that. And I think that with doing all these little things, getting the situation right when you're there, you've got to feel comfortable. Taking the breaks, be happy as you go along that you're winning this battle. That's what I. And when I got to the end, actually, going through, at sometimes I said to myself, I'm on top of this. And then when I got to the end, I was quite confident. And then when I got the paper and I saw we are pleased, those are the two words that sort of hit home. I was very, very happy.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Robin. Robin, any advice for PMP aspirants?
Yes, I would say that, if I can do it at 66 years old, anybody can do it. You've just got to apply yourself. You've got to accept. I accepted initially. I was not performing in the mock tests, even in the nightly classes that we were having. I wasn't performing, but you've got to put your mind to it. You've got to work out a strategy, and you've got to take the advice that's presented to you. You've got to do that and use that, and you will win. That's what I can say.
Absolutely. If Robin can do at 66, anyone can do. Robin, thank you so much for motivating words. This would be really helpful for anyone who would be watching. And once again, congratulations. And I'm really happy on your success.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Amar. It's been it's been a good journey. And thank you for all your support and encouragement was a big thing, as we went along. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Anytime. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Robin. Take good care of yourself and we'll stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.